vacation program. I make time on my time off.
We're on vacation right now with Al. Al's a gun expert. We're at range 54. Here's Al. There's the target. And look how big this gun is that he's about to shoot. What's that bullet?
That is a 50 caliber semi-automatic.
And it's going into this humongous clip. And he's going to shoot this outlawed gun.
It's not outlawed. It's legal.
That gun is legal.
Yes. It's a 50 caliber semi-automatic.
Look how big these bullets are.
They're
bigger than your finger.
That's bigger than Stanfield's Petey. This is a standard 45. I'm going to set that down. That's a standard 45. That's a 50 cal.
That's the difference.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today's video is actually going to be covering some of the stuff that I remember I was telling you how I'm going to pick some little clips or little parts that I already covered, things that people have been asking me about. So the first one I want to read to you is a post from one of Chad Daybell's kids, the one that's talking about how they met Lori. Okay, so let me read that to you. So it says, now remember, this was posted a while back, so before Tylee and JJ were found. So it says, exhuming body without family permission. Mother passed away October 19th, 2019. The coroner told us natural causes. It looked like the textbook definition of heart failure. The death was unexpected and my family has taken it hard. My dad has already remarried. A friend of the family lost her husband earlier this year, and for whatever reason, she and my dad decided to tie the knot. A friend of the family? Wow. Lori's a friend of the family now? I mean, can you imagine now what they're thinking? Like, calling her a friend of the family, learning all this stuff is coming out, and I'm sure we're going to learn once they give the results on Tammy's autopsy and that investigation is complete. They're not going to be calling her no friend of the family after that. Lost her husband earlier? More like took her husband's life. Anyway, okay, so it feels weird, but I already had a positive relationship with my new stepmom, and she has helped our family grieve. It's definitely a weird marriage. Both still talk of their former spouses frequently. My dad misses my mother terribly. A few neighbors, I think she means led by my aunt, in our small town have decided that since my dad remarried so quickly, he murdered my mother. This started out as a benign, though hurtful rumor. It has escalated to the point, however, that they exhumed my mom's body for an autopsy. The family had no warning. We went to visit her grave and her body had been dug up. I don't know the results of the autopsy yet, but I feel extremely violated. I just want to grieve. I'm hurt that my aunt would cause so much trouble. Has anyone else experienced anything like this? I feel so alone. Okay, so that's, wow. So that's that. Imagine, I can't even imagine what his kids are thinking now. You know, they probably really believe their dad is telling them, oh, the kids are all right, and then probably not thinking that their dad could ever do anything like that. I mean, who knows, though? I don't know what kind of relationship he had with them. I don't know what kind of people they are. I guess I'm just going from my experience. If my dad were to tell me that and I trusted him, I'm like, oh, yeah, I believe my dad, and then it comes out he was lying, it would just be like devastating. But I mean, there's some people that think that they knew or they were involved. I don't think that at all, but nothing would really surprise me in this case. It's like sometimes you're just like, what? But I just think it was them trusting their dad and then thinking no way that their dad could do something like that. Okay, so that's that. And then there's a couple texts between Charles Vallow and one of his friends that I wanted to read. It makes me so sad when I read some of the stuff that he, watch some of the videos, the body cams, and some of the stuff from the lawyers, the court documents. But these are some texts with a friend, okay? So the first one says, I still can't believe it. And then Charles says, 58 days, believe it. The beautiful, sweet Lori you and I knew is gone. She actually believes I'm not Charles. She says an evil spirit named Nick Schneider murdered me and is using me to violate her and her family. Not kidding. Gotta get out of here. So you could read a part of the text back. It says, holy camole, I can't even relate. And then the other one says, I truly feel there is no good ending for her. Emotionally, JJ's about 4. He will remember bits and pieces, but thankfully not the pain she's put a lot of people through for her mission from God. And his friend says, Charles, I appreciate you and trusted me with your heart's issue. You are safe here. I will continue to pray for you and your family. You have a friend here that you can truly trust. I have to go for now and will keep you updated. Sleep well, my friend. Go with God. So sad. I don't know. I just want to give Charles a big hug. Okay, so those are those texts. So here's another one. Okay, so another one said, something snapped. It is so unbelievable and scary. I'm thankful she doesn't see JJ. She wants him and for me to disappear. Seriously. It's the freakiest thing I've ever experienced. She's with a group of people called Woke and Preparing a People. She actually believes I'm not Charles. She says an evil spirit named Nick Schneider murdered me and is using me to violate her. Okay, so here's another one that I had in one of my videos. So, because somebody was asking about the manufactured home. So Justin Lum, he says, Chad Daybell is interested in putting a manufactured home on his Salem, Idaho property this spring. Per source, Daybell inquired about the mobile home last Friday, 3/27, and said his financing is moving along well. The phone number he used checks out as the same he registered in Kauai. So I think he was going to put it right on top of where he buried. Well, I guess he buried them in separate spots, but I mean, gonna be in that yard, so I'm sure it would have been on top. Well, maybe he would have moved them so they were both under wherever he was gonna put that house. Oh gosh, I hate that man, but I think it's kind of crazy. You read the comments, because remember, this is back in March 31st. So you read the comments of some of the people who said, I hope he isn't hiding something on his property, building over it. Now, knowing what we know now. Wow. Oh, and the other one said he's doing all this for nothing because he will be right behind bars with his wicked witch wife. Yes. And that's where he's at. So it's kind of interesting reading those comments now. Okay, so what else did I want to pick out for you? Oh, another one somebody sent me this. And once again, I did it again where I try to save the email who sent it so I could give them a shout out. But sometimes I go through my emails and I erase a bunch of them if I have, they're building up. And I saved what they sent me and I forgot to write down the name or save the name so I could give you a shout out. So whoever sent this to me, I'm sorry, but thank you. Leave a comment under this video or email me actually, because sometimes I don't get to all the comments, and I'll give you a shout out on my next video. It's pretty interesting though. Check this out. So this is on the right is Idaho's first female serial killer, and then we got on the left the Wicked Witch of Rexburg, Lori. So anyway, Lyda Souther, known as America and Idaho's first female serial killer, had 6 victims, brother-in-law, 4 husbands, and her daughter. Each husband had a life insurance policy, naming her the beneficiary. Bodies were exhumed to test for arsenic. Lyda was found in Honolulu, Hawaii, married to husband number 5, who she tried to convince to get a life insurance policy, naming her as beneficiary, but he declined. She was then extradited back to Idaho. Sound familiar? Yeah, wow. I mean, look at that picture. They look very similar too. The same mouth and just the way they're holding their mouths and their nose. I mean, just wow. And then just the details on what you did and what she was like. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, thank you, whoever sent this. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to read is the transcripts from the 911 call with Alex. And remember, Zulema's son is the one that found Alex. Okay, so says December 12th, 2019, 15 hours, 20 minutes, 19 seconds. 911, where is your emergency? He says, hi, I need an ambulance to, he says, yes. He says, why do you need an ambulance? And he says, I have a older male, a middle-aged male, he's, so I don't know why they wonder what they blacked that out. He's something. Sometimes you could tell, I mean, like the address and certain things why they blacked it out, but I don't know why they did that. I'm trying to figure out what would that have said. He's something, and they say he is breathing, and he says, and yes, he's breathing, but very, very highly breathing. So remember that word choice. high. So I think by reading that and then a couple other details, like they gave him Narcan. So I think she misunderstood what he was saying when he says high, that maybe he was saying that Alex was high. And then she says, okay, let me transfer you to Mesa D, the medics. Do not hang up. And he says, okay. And then the one operator says, is this due to a drug overdose or anything? And then the other operator answers and says, fire and medical. So Joseph never heard or answered the first operator when she asked him that. So you see, they say drug overdose. So from when he said highly breathing, he didn't mean that. I think he probably said barely breathing. She probably misunderstood him or something. But I really think that she thought he was saying high. And then, so they bring a Narcan. They think it's a possible drug overdose. That's just my opinion from reading these transcripts. That's why I wanted to read them to you, because some people were asking, why does nobody mention that he had Narcan in his system? So Narcan is what they give you when you are overdosing on opiates. So when you're overdosing on any opiates, they could give you Narcan and it can wake you back up. So it's considered an opioid antagonist, so it reverses the effects of the opiates. So I really think that's what the medics thought going into that situation. And hey, if they were wrong, it's not going to hurt to give him Narcan for the most part. And with the whole opiate pandemic going on, they see a lot of that, I would imagine. So with his symptoms of him just like passing out like that, they probably did go into it thinking that it was a possible drug overdose. And then with Zulema's son using those words, like he said, yes, he's breathing, but very, very high. That could have very well got misunderstood. And then he did end up saying highly breathing. And what does highly breathing even mean anyway? What if she didn't catch that last part right there? She just kind of heard, but very, very high. I just think that's what they thought going into it. Well, that it was a good possibility. Okay, I'm going to continue reading this. So the one operator asked the other one, what is the address of your emergency? Gilbert with a transfer. So they're going back to Zulema's son. He said, caller, are you on the line? Hello is, and he says, hello. And they say, anyone there? And he says, yes, I'm here. And she says, okay, you're at blah, blah, blah. And he says, yes, that's correct. He says, okay, what is the emergency? He says, I have an older male here named Alex. He just passed out here in my bathroom. Okay, is he awake right now? Are you hearing me? I think he's passed out. And he says, okay, you think he's unconscious? And he says, yes. And then the person says, okay, is he breathing normally? Like, you can see his chest rising and falling? Hello? And he says, I hope so. And then they say, I have the paramedics on the way, but I need you to try to help me with some information while they're driving there to help him, okay? And he says, okay. He says, how old is he? He seems to be in his 40s. Okay, do you know him? No, it's my mother's boyfriend. Okay, and how old are you? I'm 25. Okay, I have the paramedics on the way, so he's in the restroom right now. Correct. Gilbert, can we get you started? So now she's talking to the person en route. I'm already en route. All right, thank you. Okay, is he on his back or his stomach? Where is he at? He says he's on his side. Okay, can you lay him flat on his back on the ground? And Zulema's son says, I'll try. It's just there's feces there and I'm trying to just keep cool right now. And she said, you said he's what? And Joseph says, there's feces on the ground. She says, okay. And he says, and she says, I know that's gross, but if we can just go ahead and get him flat on his back, I want to make sure he's breathing, because if he's not, we're going to do a few things. And he says, gotcha. And she says, did you say he's cool, like cold? And he says, Alex, we got to get you on your back. Alex. She says, does he seem more awake or more asleep? And he says, he's more passed out. She says, okay, is he opening his eyes or moving at all? And he says, he's breathing. She says, okay, is he breathing normally? Like, is his chest rising and falling? He's not making any weird sounds. And he says, yeah, he's making a very exhale sound, like, whoo. She says, okay, if he's doing that, we need to start CPR. So I need you to get him flat on his back on the ground. Okay, I'll do that. Let me know when he's flat on his back and we're going to give you instructions, okay? Okay. Alex, what is your first? And he says, we. And she says, name. And then that's all blacked out. And he says, I don't. And she says, okay. And he says, think I could do that. And she says, 206. And he says, man. She says, I know this is difficult, but you're only. And then he says something that they couldn't make out. And she says, helping him. And says something else they couldn't make out. And she says, okay, I know the paramedics. And he says, I don't think I can because and she says, what is your name? And he says, have black out and then it's blacked out. And she says, okay. It just makes me wonder what he said, because he's saying, I don't think I can because I have something and something. And they have it blacked out, and then the operator says, okay. And he says it twice. I don't think I can because I have something that's blacked out and something else that's blacked out. Does anybody have any idea what that could be? Like, what is he saying? Basically, that he can't help him get on his back and help with the CPR. Well, he ends up doing it. Well, Zulema ends up giving him the CPR. But he ends up agreeing to try to do it. But when she's asking him to get him on his back, he's two different things he says twice. Something and something. Okay, I just wanted to point that out for you guys to see what you guys think it could be, or just get comments on your thoughts about that. And she says, what's your name? And he says, I have something and something. I can't. And she says, what is your name? And he says, my name is Joseph. He says, Joseph. Okay, Joseph. The best thing for us to do for him right now is to help. And he says something again. She's not understanding. He says, so if you'll just take, and he says, oh, F. And she says, I know it's not ideal, but you're doing a really good job by helping him. If you can do that, okay? And he says, yo, Alex, he's not breathing. And she says something, it's blacked out, and he says, no. And she says, okay, can you get him flat on his back? And he says, no, he's too big. She says, okay, just try to get him on his back so we can do chest compressions. And he says, my mother just got here. She says, okay, give her the phone then. And he says something unclear, and then the other operator says, so did he say the mother just got there? And then Joseph says, come on. And then something else unintelligible. And then the operator says, yeah. And Joseph says, come here. I think he's talking to his mom, like, come here. And the operator says, we're coming on mineral right now. And he says, it's really bad. She says, we're almost there. And he says, it's really bad. Come upstairs in the bathroom. We need to get him on his back. And then Zulema says, can, and then something unintelligible. So not sure what she was saying. And then one of the operators says, can you put your mom on the phone? And he says, she's right here. You're on speaker. And then Zulema says something else unintelligible. So wish we knew what she was saying. And the operator says, okay, ma'am, the paramedics are pulling up. But in the meantime, and Joseph says, get him on his back. And then she says, we need to get him flat on his back and we need to give him chest compressions, okay? And Joseph says, chest compressions. And Zulema says, I've got it. And then Joseph says something unintelligible again. And Zulema says, I've got it. He says, but, and she says, one. And then one of the operators says, does she know how to do CPR? And they're talking about Zulema, asking if Zulema knows how to do CPR. And then Joseph, Zulema's son, starts saying one. And then Zulema says, yeah, I know how to do CPR. And Joseph says, yeah, she knows how. And then the operator says, okay. And then Zulema says, how far are they? How far? And Joseph says, how far are you? And they say, we're pulling up front right now. So they'll be grabbing their equipment and they're coming in. Joseph says, okay. And then they ask him, are you on the first floor or second? And then Joseph says, we're on the second floor. And then she asks him, second floor in the bathroom? And he says, yes. And then it's the fire department. So they're there saying it's the fire department. Okay, and the door is unlocked? And he says, yes. And then the operator says something unintelligible. And Joseph says, yes. And the operator says, okay. Do you see the paramedics now? And he says, yes. Okay, Joseph, you did a good job. I know that was really scary, but thank you for your help, okay? Joseph, before you hang up, all right. Joseph, before you hang up, I need your last name. We got a guy that's coming up. Joseph, let the paramedics do their business and tell me what your last name is. He says, Lopez. Joseph, what's your last name? Lopez. And then Zulema says something unintelligible again, so I wish we knew some of the stuff that she was saying, because that'd be kind of interesting, but most of the stuff she said was unintelligible, where they couldn't make out what she was even saying. Okay, and what's your date of birth? Okay, what's Alex's last name? I don't know. You don't know his last name? No. Which is weird, because isn't Zulema right beside him right there? So why doesn't she say what his last name is? And I know it's weird because they're married, so he should know that it's not her boyfriend, it's her husband, what his last name is. And the weird thing is Alex took Zulema's last name, so I always thought, from the beginning, the only reason I could come up with why he took her last name is to make him harder to find for the cops. If the cops were looking for him, they're going to look for Alex Cox. They'd still be able to find him, but maybe in their head they think, oh, it'd be a little bit harder to possibly find. It'd be easier for him to hide if he had to, doing all the stuff he's doing. I mean, that's the only benefit I could think of by him taking her last name. And then the fact that they didn't give the paramedics his last name. Zulema was sitting right beside him, or standing, or whatever, was right beside him, because you saw she was talking to the person on the phone, and she was the one giving Alex CPR. Okay, I'm gonna finish reading these transcripts. There's only a couple more sentences left here. Okay, and he says something, and said, all right, did you let the officer in? Yeah. Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna let you go. Bye-bye. Okay, so that's all I have for you there. Like I said, I mean, nothing new, no really new information, just some older details that people were asking about that, like I said, that I had talked about in my previous videos, but I figured I'd redo some of it for you. So give me some recommendations on a case you want me to cover next. So I'm looking for a new case to cover. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good night. Bye.